Hello everyone. I'm going to explain our work on analyzing the process of seaweed drying in a drying cabinet. This project was done at the University of Iceland. The research question is to find the pattern of moisture content reduction in bladder wrack seaweed while using a biomass drying cabinet. To answer this question, we made a cabinet dryer and evaluated its performance in this project. The target of the research is to reduce the moisture content of bladder wrack seaweed to less than 20%. Seaweed farming has many environmental benefits. It needs no land, no irrigation, and no fresh water. Seaweed farming can mitigate eutrophication and balance pH in oceans. It grows very fast and absorbs carbon to grow. Seaweed can be converted to a valuable fuel through the process called gasification. However, it needs to be pre-processed before gasification. Drying, shredding, and pelletizing are necessary before gasification. Seaweed pellets can be used to feed animals or be sold as a renewable burning material and replace charcoal. Syngas, which is produced from the gasification process, can be used in internal combustion engines and gas turbines. We performed 6 drying experiments with different drying times. In each experiment, 4.5 kg of seaweed was dried. The seaweed was weighed before and after each experiment, and Excel software was used in this work to process the data. A biomass drying cabinet was designed to investigate the drying process in seaweed. In this design, a 9 kW heater was used to supply warm flow of air for seaweed drying. In the right photo, you can see the heater in black. The warm air flows into the cabinet from the bottom, and the humid air leaves the cabinet from the top. The frame of the cabinet is metal, and the walls of the cabinet are wooden. You see in the left photo shows a 3D model of the drying cabinet, and the right photo, as I said before, is a real model, is a real dryer. As you see in the left photo, six data loggers were used in the experiments to log the temperature and humidity inside the cabinet. Each one has two sides. The black side has a sensor to sense the thermodynamic properties of the space, and the other side is a USB port to be connected to the laptop. They were located inside the cabinet, outside the cabinet, inside the inlet, and inside the outlet ducts. The right photo shows the laboratory oven. The laboratory oven was used to measure the final moisture content of seaweed after the drying process. This device was just a closed cabinet for keeping the seaweed at 105 degrees Celsius for 3 hours to evaporate all moisture content of the material. Results. This graph was produced by 3 data loggers, which were located inside the cabinet on the bottom shelf, middle shelf, and top shelf. The average temperature on bottom shelves is higher than on top shelves, since warm air is injected into the cabinet from the bottom. In addition, the temperature on the bottom shelf stabilizes faster than to others. This graph was also produced by the same data loggers. The seaweed dries faster on bottom shelves in comparison with top shelves. As it is shown in the graph, the upper parts of the cabinet are more humid than the lower parts during the drying experiments. According to the data that we analyzed from the inside of the cabinet, we can conclude that the thermodynamic conditions are different on different shelves, since the warm air is injected into the cabinet from the bottom. Sorry. To solve this problem, an air distributor can be used to transfer the warm air to the cabinet through various points. Furthermore, after analyzing the results, the performance of the biomass drying cabinet was evaluated. For making this cabinet, wooden plates were used. Since no deformation was witnessed after the experiments, we can conclude that constructing a biomass dryer out of wood is feasible. To measure the final moisture content of seaweed after 49 hours of drying, 6 samples of seaweed were heated for 3 hours at 105 degrees Celsius in a laboratory oven. The samples were weighed before and after oven drying. The average moisture content of 6 samples was considered as the final moisture content of seaweed. The final graph shows the moisture content of seaweed during 7 different drying times. The first point shows the moisture content of fresh seaweed before drying. According to this graph, the moisture content reduces over time. The highest drying rate happens in the first 2 hours, and the drying rate is almost zero after 22 hours. By analyzing the moisture content of seaweed at different drying times, we can conclude that more than 50% of the mass of fresh seaweed is evaporated in the first 6 hours. Conclusion. After performing various drying experiments, the moisture content of seaweed has been reduced to less than 20%. A moisture content graph for bladder wrack seaweed has been produced, and the goal of the project has been accomplished. And moreover, more than 50% of the mass of seaweed separated in the first 6 hours. The seaweed dried faster on the bottom shelves since the warm air was being injected into the cabinet from the bottom. Therefore, by having an equal distribution of warm air inside the cabinet, seaweed on all shelves will have identical moisture content after drying. The wooden plates that were used to make the dryer did not deform and sealed the cabinet very well. Thank you.